This past November, MTPA's Stage 1 at Park Place was transformed by Orange Grove Dance in 9 site-specific, socially distanced performances of Still Standing. The performances featured a vivid light installation that gently reflected the adjacent Annapolis National Cemetery. Orange Grove Dance brought their trademark athletic choreography set to the alluring music of composer Dylan Blackmore in a surreal luminescent landscape designed by acclaimed lighting designer Peter Leibold.
This performance introduced many to the Annapolis National Cemetery, which was established in 1862 by Abraham Lincoln to accommodate Civil War Union soldiers who died at Camp Parole, outside of Annapolis. After the Civil War, the cemetery was used from time to time for other brave soldiers who sacrificed their lives for the United States. The dancers utilized over 100 wireless lighting units, creating a grid of light, memory, and hope that mirrored the precise rows of the gravestones that sprawled across the horizon. Each dancer and light served as a reminder of the importance of casting our lights together during times of darkness.
Join us now for an exclusive Q&A with the artistic directors of Orange Grove Dance.
Hi, I'm Colette Krogel.
Hi, I'm Matt Reeves. We're the artistic directors of Orange Grove Dance.
And we just created Still Standing here at MTPA.
I'm wondering during the performance what each of the lights represented to you.
I think that's definitely something we hope that the audience can think about for themselves, what that light in the darkness might represent. An initial inspiration for us was definitely when we came to the site and saw the Annapolis National Cemetery sprawling in this beautiful grid on the hillside behind the site. And a bit of the design was to mirror that idea, with the lights having one side of the street reflect the other.
Yeah. And with one of them, from that idea of the tombstones, when we moved the lights the first time, we had this sense of replicating the night sky onto the field and us walking through it, and it was just this mirroring and parallel to the space and time.
Awesome. Okay, and then going off of that question, you guys moved the lights physically to different formations and locations on the field throughout the piece. What was the purpose behind that, or the reasoning behind that as the choreographers?
I think it's always important to us when we make a work that things have the ability to transform and change. That's something we're looking for, I think personally, just as human beings. What are the things that change us and transform us? So it was important that the lights had that functionality. They could transform the space, re-outline it, change our relationship to it. And so as we move them through the space, we're doing just that. We're looking for transformation. We're looking for the ways that the world changes around us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to... so you guys got to work with an amazing composer, Dylan, or not Dylan, sorry.
Yeah, Dylan. Yeah.
Dylan Blackmore?
Yeah.
Okay. During the process, and our audience members were wondering what it's like to work with a music composer as you're creating a piece, and if you could just talk about that process a little bit.
We love working with Dylan. We've been fortunate to develop a friendship and also a collaboration with him that's stemmed over a decade now. So we've been working with him since about 2010, and we've built a language that we both understand and ways that our creative process unfolds. And with Dylan, something that's quite unique for us is that we respond organically to each other. He wants to know what the space feels like. And with this piece in particular, normally Dylan is on site, but he lives in New York City. So with the pandemic and all of that, he wasn't able to come. So there was a lot of the process where we FaceTimed him in, or he asked us to record sounds of the space. He always uses that within the work. So we recorded sounds in the cemetery, in the actual Stage 1 space, what the cars sounded like, all of that fed what he was experiencing, along with all the different themes and ideas that were coming with the work. And so sometimes with Dylan, he'll have an inspiration and he'll create something that then will create a section out of it. And then other times with Dylan, we've started to build something choreographically that then he kind of supports with his music, with his compositions.
That's awesome. So, yeah, you're good. You're good.
I was watching their TV.
So going off of that, a lot of people were really interested in the bell sounds that you incorporated in the audio, and I guess they were just wondering if there was a purpose behind including the bell sounds and how you were inspired to include them.
Yeah.
The bells came about, I think, early on
It was
in
one
the
of the
process.
first sounds we spoke about.
And we were trying to listen to the space, both for how it made us want to move and what it might sound like. And you're in a big open space, and the sounds that kind of come to you naturally in a city or a town space like that. A bell is something that's not completely unfamiliar, maybe. You know, we've often heard people will hear church bells or city bells calling at different times of the afternoon or things like that. And of course it resonated to us as well with the cemetery as a sign that, you know, people might be called together for such an event. And so it came to us early as like this calling card, as something that, and a bell has a very particular kind of resonance, that big metal sound that reverberates on and on and on until it just fades away from your ears. And so that was the sound was important because it fits the space. It can really strike and take over, and we can hear it fade away, and versus other sounds that might not have the same impact inside such a large performance space.
Yeah, it was truly like a calling for us, and the bell felt organically right for this work in this space. So that was something that we talked to Dylan about from the beginning, and he was sharing with us about the vibrations of the bell and just even what we're trying to sense and connect to each other. So the bell was this way of connecting us and calling us.
Interesting. Okay. Do you ever intend to perform this piece in a traditional setting on a stage?
We don't know. I don't think we would rule it out, but site-specific work, we do want it to really fit the space and location, but who knows, you know, the space and location here at MTPA might change, but it could be really interesting to bring something like this back that was originally created on the same site and see how it might fit into a new venue somewhere in the future. And then I think there is potential to also bring this work, the transportative nature of the lighting itself and the performers. It can be in a lot of different open outdoor spaces that might also resonate in a similar way as we created it here.
Yeah, it could exist in an indoor space, especially since it's 173 singular lights in different ways, so it could change shape or shift in those ways. But it was truly built for Stage 1 and MTPA and this space, so it would be creating another version or another existence of Still Standing. Because something I love about this space that would be very hard to translate into an interior space is just the distance, and that can be a challenge. Of course, we have to peer pretty far across this field sometimes to see the dancers at the end of the hill there, and to see the Annapolis Cemetery behind you. But that's such a rare occurrence in a theater space to be able to see that far. It's a really cinematic idea to be able to look way off into the background and then to still bring things into the foreground. So I think that's something very special about how the piece was made for this iteration. But with a new iteration, we'll just look for new ideas or ways that we can make that concept come to life.
Awesome. Okay, and finally, we just wanted to ask about creating a performance during COVID and what type of precautions you guys took and how that worked for you while creating the piece.
Yeah, it was new for us, and it was tough at times. It was something that we needed to learn and grow with. Something that we wanted to make sure was that everyone was safe and comfortable through this process, and we did do a lot of conversation. We had a lot of conversations both with our stage manager Tori and with the company in terms of what protocol we could put in place, and then also even how it affected the choreography itself. Our work usually has a lot of partnering and has a lot of connecting and kind of coming together, and it was this need for distance in this work that we learned a lot about. And yeah.
I think in dance, we always have to, in the process, even if you've worked together for a long time, you have to establish and build trust with each other. Know where each other are, really sense each other in non-verbal ways. You have to just get to a very intimate kind of knowing, and this whole process challenged that, because some of our safety precautions are to keep our distance and to cover up parts of our faces, which we give so much information to each other with. And that was very, very challenging, but also it was inspiring to see that despite those obstacles, the process was still relevant, different, hard, but there was other ways that we could tune in and work with each other, and this was a big way to embrace challenges, and we had to constantly think about what can we do, not what can't we do. We had those parameters, and so it did allow us to grow and try some different things that we wouldn't ordinarily do for a project. But we certainly miss some of the things that we could do, being able to embrace each other, being able to do more partnering work that has physical contact.
And it took on a new meaning. We always, before every piece in our company, we always say, take care of each other out there before every piece that we perform, like just before we go on stage. And with this one, it was resonating both for us and with our company differently of what it means to take care of each other out there right now. And the ways that we had to just use those visual cues or make sure people were okay. You know, every time, it's a beauty of a site work is like when you go to the space, every day it's a little different. The grass might be a little bit more wet or have more dew or have a patch that's missing, or there's tree branch that fell. Like there's things that we have to be very present and aware in the space that might be different than when we're in a stage space. Like usually on stage, it's going to be very similar every day in terms of maybe the way that you perform it. We're human, so things might be different, but the space itself, and that's what's really alive and amazing with site work, is that you have to be that much more present, because anything can change. There could be, you know, the ambulance that flies by, you can't perfectly hear the music. You know, this light didn't perfectly turn on. How do we adapt in that moment so that others can be seen? You know, so there's all of these things that are really exciting in that way of like being truly like human and present in the moment. And so that's something that we just love about creating site work in alternative spaces. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, that was all my questions. We didn't make it, but we did. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.